Nowadays, when you go to a big gym, you'll see people with shakers mixing various powders with the intentions and hopes of augmenting their workout in some way, whether that's a caffeinated pre-workout drink, protein shakes, or a sort of, post-workout chocolate milk. But have you ever seen someone drinking a beer after a workout? Well, don't get too carried away. We're not talking about your typical Budweiser or Coors Light. Think more of an O'Doul's, the non-alcoholic beer of choice for grandpas and uncles everywhere. Yeah, today's going to be a continuation of our previous episode on non-alcoholic beers. Today we're making a case for why you should crack a beer after a run or after a workout. Let's get right into it. We've all heard that way back in the medieval ages, people would drink beer day, noon, and night in order to hydrate themselves because the water at the time was unsafe to drink. And that was for good reason. Beer can be thought of as a nutrient-rich elixir full of bioactive molecules as well as macronutrients such as carbohydrates. I once had a friend describe beer as tasting like liquid bread, and I think that is honestly a great description as to why non-alcoholic beer can serve as a boon to one's workout recovery. In the human body, there's something called glycogen, and that's a primary short-term energy source that skeletal muscles often use. Glycogen is essentially a polymer or a long chain of glucose molecules. And after intense exercise, particularly the sorts of endurance training, think long cardio run, bike riding, stuff of that sort, muscle glycogen is depleted immensely. And in order for recovery from said exercise to occur, muscle glycogen stores have to be replenished. After the intense exercise, there's a period where the muscles are like sponges, and they're just looking to soak up any glucose that enters the bloodstream because of their highly depleted state. The best way to start inducing glycogen resynthesis after a bout of intense exercise is to consume some sort of carbohydrate that's going to replenish the carbohydrates that was lost during exercise, and that will then allow the muscles and the body to do future work. Think, come back and do another good workout later that day or the next day even. As I said earlier, beer is full of carbohydrates. That's why people back in the day drank it as a food source. And non-alcoholic beer has a high glycemic index. And this essentially means that it quickly spikes blood glucose following consumption of the non-alcoholic beverage. Glycemic index is just a scale used to compare foods on their ability to spike blood glucose and is of particular use to diabetics and individuals who must be careful about their metabolic state. But here, it shows that beer is doing essentially what we want. We want to increase the amount of glucose in our blood immediately following a workout session so that the muscles can act like sponges and absorb that glucose from the blood and start synthesizing glycogen and rebuild those stores so that future workouts can be done successfully. Replacing muscle glycogen is essential for individuals who have to do intense exercise on a regular basis. Think someone who might do cardio in the morning and weight training at night, or say cardio one evening and then resistance training the next morning. Replacing glycogen stores between these two sessions would be essential so that each workout gets the full amount of potential and performance potential. Replenishing glycogen stores between these two sessions would be essential for proper performance. And due to that carbohydrate content of non-alcoholic beer, it can be a great alternative to sugary, artificial sports drinks that you see oftentimes at grocery stores and gyms. Replenishing carbohydrates after an intense bout of exercise is just one way that non-alcoholic beer can help augment our training and our recovery. The next way lies in the anti-inflammatory effects of the hops that are used in brewing. Humulus lupus, and that's a scientific name for hops, one of the major ingredients in beer. We're all familiar with it. It provides that bitter flavor that's often associated with IPAs and whatnot, but it's used in almost all beers nowadays. And hops provides numerous bioactive molecules that impart flavor, but also have very important health benefits to them. Hops include many different molecules, but the molecule of focus for today is xanthohumanol. And xanthohumanol is the most potent of various flavanols that are found within hops. And while the exact mechanism is complicated, it can be brewed down, no pun intended, to the fact that bioactive molecules such as xanthohumanol in hops interferes with the body's normal inflammatory response, leading to lower markers of inflammation after consumption. And it should be noted that inflammation is an important and natural consequence of exercise. Exercise causes an acute and local inflammation response in muscles and is even essential for desired muscle adaptations resulting from resistance training. Although we have all suffered an injury that in some ways inhibited exercise, and as we age, chronic low-level inflammation is a symptom and cause of many age-related diseases. So, a diet that imparts bioactive molecules such as xanthohumol that act as natural anti-inflammatory agents is of course a boon to our training. It's going to lower markers of inflammation and help reduce low-level chronic inflammation throughout the body. In addition to xanthohumol, other flavonols and alpha acids, the molecules responsible for the bitter flavor of hoppy beers, are potent scavengers for free radicals. So, hops impart a lot of antioxidants upon your non-alcoholic IPAs and whatnot. So, now we know that non-alcoholic beer can have anti-inflammatory effects and also replenish lost nutrients during intense exercise. But there's one more way that non-alcoholic beer can be a boon to our training protocols. And that final way is hydration. Proper hydration is essential for proper performance, cognition, and workout recovery. And non-alcoholic beer, due to its absence of alcohol, which is a diuretic and increases urination and therefore is dehydrating, non-alcoholic beer is filled with potassium, sodium, and of course water. Remember, water is the biggest ingredient in beer. And the fact that it has these minerals, these electrolytes, and water makes it a great way of hydrating. A study in 2016 demonstrated that males who consumed non-alcoholic beer 45 minutes prior to an intense workout had better hydration markers post-workout. And this demonstrates well that non-alcoholic beer can be a great way of hydrating prior or after a workout. Now, personally, I prefer to consume a non-alcoholic beer after a workout rather than before, and you're replenishing a lot of those lost electrolytes and water that you lose due to sweating. So, in conclusion, non-alcoholic beer can serve as a way of augmenting our training by replenishing lost carbohydrate, by having anti-inflammatory effects due to the hops, and helping with post-workout hydration. So, with the popularity of non-alcoholic beers on the rise, we can maybe expect to see people cracking beers after a run or after a gym, and they can justify in that it's actually helping their workout rather than hindering it. So, I hope you found this episode informational and enjoyable, and maybe next time you go for a run, you'll crack open a non-alcoholic beer. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out on YouTube at Sun and Soil, or on Instagram at Sun and Soil Podcast. And you can come back and enjoy an episode about beanless coffee in a few weeks' time. So, thank you so much for listening, and have a good rest of your day. Peace.